One of my favorite YouTubers, Brett Cooper, was interviewed just like 2 weeks ago on the Iced Coffee Hour channel. She was homeschooled and they asked her all about it, and her answers were just so fantastic. So I want to watch some of those clips with you, give you my 2 cents, and would love to hear your feedback as well. If you don't know who Brett Cooper is, she has a YouTube channel called The Comments Section that's produced by the Daily Wire. Most of it is pop culture stuff, some of it's political, but basically she goes and finds viral videos, digs through the comments section, and brings you the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a great way to get like a truncated version of what's going on out in the world without having to spend hours ourselves going and watching TikTok and scrolling through Twitter. So I really appreciate it and find it very interesting, super entertaining. It is not for kids. I did not know any of her background until watching this interview, and I'm like blown away. Like, she's had so much life in her young 21 years. It's wild. I would highly recommend going and watching like the first 2.5 hours of this interview. I think you'll be really inspired by her story. Trigger warning, if you are not a fan of homeschooling and are easily offended by people who homeschool, this is probably not the video for you. If you still choose to watch, I hope you're encouraged. Okay, here's the first clip.
I remember seeing homeschool kids as a kid, and they were always kind of weird.
Yeah.
That would be my biggest concern of like ever doing homeschooling, is feeling like they're in a bubble, that they don't get the true experience. They're not going to be like out there kind of like forging their own path. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it comes down to the parents and how you dictate it. Because obviously if you keep your kid just inside and you don't facilitate any other kind of extracurriculars, they're not going to benefit from it. But the benefit of homeschooling is the opportunities and the freedom and the flexibility that you do have.
First of all, like, why is it okay for people to say this to other homeschoolers? That is so rude, I feel like. But for some reason, it's totally normal to be like, aren't homeschoolers weird, homeschooler? Like, I wouldn't go up to you and be like, aren't public schoolers weird, you public schooler? No, I got more class than that. Come on. Okay. First of all, a little background about myself. I was only homeschooled through 2nd grade. Then I did public school for 3rd through 6th. Then I did private Christian school 7th through 12th, and then 4 years of college. And I definitely used to have that stigma about homeschoolers as well. Did I say it to another homeschooler though? No, because that's rude. But I get it. Like, that definitely used to be more of a stigma. I feel like now, all the way here in 2023, especially post-COVID times when so many more people are homeschooling, like, I feel like more people should be seeing that this is more of a normal thing rather than it seeming so weird. Exhibit A, Brett Cooper, obviously she's not weird. She is famous now. Like, come on. And I know plenty of homeschoolers who are not weird. They're well-rounded humans who are very smart. Okay, next clip.
But I would also push back on people saying that homeschoolers are inherently weird, because I definitely was weird. I was a total nerd. I was a theater kid. I had a career. And I look at kids that are normal these days, and I'm so glad that I'm not one. Like, I'm very glad that I was not partying. I'm so glad that I did not succumb to the same peer pressure that a lot of my friends who, grew up in the normal school system did.
I think that is such a great point. Like, a lot of people's negativity is like, well, your kid's gonna turn out weird. They're not gonna be normal. And a lot of homeschool parents are going, yeah, that's kind of the point. We don't want them to go through the conveyor belt system. We don't want them to be influenced by so many other kids their age who don't hold the same values as our own family. Like, that's good with us. We're happy to not have them turn out normal, because good grief, look at what normal is looking like these days, especially in this TikTok age. Like, yikes. Okay, let's keep watching.
I've had people say, you didn't get bullied, so you haven't been knocked around. No, yeah, I've been knocked around. Like, I had an entire acting career, like, where I was told no 99% of the time. Like, my brother died. My father, has serious mental health issues. I had enough, happen in my life, basically. So I don't think that you are completely, exempt from bad things happening or being toughened up. So I guess that those are some of my pushbacks against it.
I've totally heard this before, where like parents think that kids need to go through this crucible as if public school has existed for all of humanity. And I just don't understand as a parent why you would want your kid to be bullied. Like, why does that seem like something good for them to go through? I think most people come out of that needing therapy later, right? Like things that kids bullied other kids about in school when they were young, like those stick with us forever. Like it takes us a long time to get over something negative someone said to us when we were young. Why would we want that for our kids? And I'm not saying being homeschooled makes you exempt from ever getting bullied. Obviously, you're gonna have friends, you're gonna be doing other things with other kids, and the opportunity is there for someone to make fun of someone else. But it's not like we are making them spend 6 hours a day, 30 hours a week with these bullies. No, we're protecting them from that. And I would like to raise a confident child before sending them out on their own so that they're built up strong enough to handle the bullying that might come. Obviously, we all have hard things happen in our own lives with our family, with our friends, that our kids are going to have to go through an experience. So it's silly to think that just because they're homeschooled, they're somehow shielded from all hard things in life. Okay, next clip.
I had so much flexibility, so I was able to do everything that I was interested in. I took art classes, I did gymnastics, I volunteered, and that was only because I had the time to do it. I was not, in school until 3 p.m.
That is such a great perk of homeschooling, the amount of time we give back to our kids. Like, I understand to a degree why the school day takes so long, because one teacher is having to manage so many kids. Like, I honestly don't even know how they do it. It's amazing. When you are at home and you can give your kid that one-on-one time, which if you don't know me, I have 4 kids, so it's not always one-on-one time, but 4 is a lot less than 20 or 25, much more manageable. So we can get our school day done by like lunchtime usually. And so that frees up our kids to have the rest of the afternoon to dive into whatever else they're interested in. And so that's a huge perk for us, is just the amount of time they get back in their childhood to just have fun, explore, learn in their own fun way. Next clip.
I spent so much time with my family. I spent so much quality time with my brothers. My relationship with my mom is one of the things that I'm most proud of. Yeah. And we really developed that over, that period. I also think I inherited, and this could be a benefit or a drawback, depending on whether people like me or don't like me. I inherited a lot of her values because of that, because I spent so much quality time with her, that she was the one who raised me, not a teacher.
This is our biggest reason for homeschooling. We want to have the biggest influence on our kids' lives. Like, hands down, we want them to inherit our values. We want that quality time with them. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I enjoy my alone time spent without my kids around? Absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously, I take time to myself to produce these YouTube videos. I also do the admin work for my husband's full-time photography business. So this is something that my husband and I frequently work on so that I don't get burnt out. Just because I'm the main one homeschooling them doesn't mean that he can't make time here and there to also help with that. And it doesn't mean that I don't get any breaks. We just have to be creative about how we schedule our weeks, our days, and how we spend our time. I also frequently schedule hangouts with other homeschool moms. So like, they can bring their kids over and our kids can entertain each other. We can hang out and chat, and that gives me some fun friend time. It's also why I like to join up with other homeschooling groups and go on field trips or park hangouts or whatever. It gives my kids a chance to hang out with other kids. It gives me a chance to chat with other moms. I think people see homeschooling as a mom and her kids locked inside their house 24/7. And that is just not how it is. That would obviously drive anyone crazy. So that's not how we live our life.
When you look at the statistics of how much time kids are spending with their parents these days, I think that the Department of Labor, it's like 35 minutes a day.
That's it?
Yeah.
What age?
What is a kid range? What is it? We got to figure out the parameters of what
so I need to look at like what the actual ages. But when you remove like bathing, making dinner,
watching
like,
a movie together,
watching, like that kind of like that's
not
that doesn't
like actual like
that's a quality time when you are face to face with your kid, bonding, doing an activity where you are interacting, not just like sitting in front of a screen, or not like, oh, my kid's in the same room but farther away, but like that's an average of 35 minutes a day. I think that was in 2021 was when I saw that stat. That was not the case for me.
Now, I don't want to generalize and just assume that every family whose kids are in school live like this. I know how busy we can feel, even though we're homeschoolers, with extracurriculars and working and having a social life, that I can't imagine trying to squeeze in enough quality time with my kids if they also were at school 6 hours a day. It would like really stress me out to live such a fast-paced day-to-day life. Honestly, rushing to get out the door every morning and to get to curriculars in the afternoon and make sure they got their homework done, like that would burn me out. And side note, it always really baffled me that kids in school who are there for 6 hours then still come home with homework. Did they not get enough of it already? Like you have to ruin their evening as well and take up more time with more schoolwork? What were you guys doing all day? Like, anyways, I just never really understood the point of that. Next clip.
It's really taking into consideration, like, who is raising your kid at the end of the day? Who is spending that, whether it's the media, whether it's teachers. And my mom didn't homeschool me because of that, but I think that that is a result of this. She was never pulling me out of school because of an ideology or anything like that. It was simply because she wanted a better education for me. But by default, like, I think I got a really incredible, physical education, but also like emotionally, the interpersonal side of it.
Absolutely. Huge reason why we homeschool. And this is honestly still a really key point even for homeschoolers, because even though we have our kids home, if we just stuck them in front of the TV or their iPad all day long, are they really any better off? I mean, like she said, is the media raising them? And as we know, that's not a good option, right? And of course, my kids watch TV and movies and they play video games. Like we do all of that, but just within, some time limits. Some days we allow more than others. And we also have to be diligent about what we let them watch and what we let them play. Like we have to look these things up first. We have to look up reviews. For goodness sakes, not to go on a tangent, but like Netflix, you'll get like into a show that's perfectly fine, and then they'll drop season 5 and have some LGBTQ stuff snuck into season 5 of a show that you've already approved for your kid. Like we just have to stay on it or stuff is going to sneak in. So I think it's just a good point for us to, keep tabs on what we're doing within our homes as well.
Academically, our scores are off the charts. We're getting into better schools. The Ivy Leagues seek out homeschoolers these days.
Yeah, I think this is so cool and really encouraging. I hear a lot of parents being worried that their kid won't be able to get into a good college if they didn't go to a brick and mortar school. But homeschoolers actually have more freedom in their day to accomplish more learning and interning and volunteering. Plus, we all take the same SAT or ACT tests to get into college. So it's possible that a homeschooler might have an advantage on having a better looking application to get into college than someone who's had to be chained to a desk for so many more hours per week. So that's kind of a cool perk to look at.
And so again, it goes back to the parents. If you are making this decision, you are not only taking on your children's academic life, you are taking on their social life. And you have to remember that. Because just keeping them in their house, that is why.
Sure.
It's because they do not have a social interaction. They do not have a social life outside of the home. And obviously, spending time with mom and dad is great, but you have to be around other people.
I think this is a great point for us homeschool moms to be reminded of. Sometimes we have to get out of our own comfort zones in order to make those opportunities for our kids to make friends and be around other kids.
The smartest people I know in my life are homeschoolers, because they, advanced so quickly in their academic careers because they started working at a very young age. They're incredibly self-reliant. And I think those are some of the benefits.
I find this so encouraging. I hope it encourages you too. This is a big push that we have for our kids, is training them to be self-reliant and self-disciplined so they can excel without mommy and daddy when they get older. We have them doing chores from the beginning. Even a toddler can help clean up their toys. Even at age 4, they can be getting out their own bowl for breakfast and spoon and the cereal box or whatever. Like they can start making their own breakfast and lunch pretty early on. So we really try to push those independent skills and help them to learn those things so that they can help themselves. And then what's been really cool having 4 kids is seeing how they then show the next kid under them how to do those things. And sometimes they do some of our job for us, where they went ahead and taught their younger sibling how to do something. And that's really, really cool to see. And I think a really cool point that she's made is like having the time in their day as a teenager to go do an internship or, seek after these different jobs that they're interested in is a huge way to foster that self-reliance and work ethic. I'd love to know what you think about these things. Leave me some comments below. Let's chat about it. I'm so encouraged by this interview. I hope that it's been inspiring for you as well. Highly recommend going and listening to her story on that interview and checking out her YouTube channel called The Comment Section. But it's really encouraging to me to see this successful young lady being interviewed about her upbringing, which was homeschooling. And hopefully that helps kind of break down some of those barriers for people who've been kind of haters of homeschooling, and maybe they can see some of the perks and reasons why we think it's so worthwhile to sacrifice other things in order to do this for our kids. So if you're a homeschooler or interested in homeschooling, I'd love to have you come follow my channel, The Johnson Crew. So definitely hit that subscribe button below and join us here every week. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and check this video out next. I will catch you in the next one.